Good morning. Welcome to the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Lynn Cusick. I serve this congregation on the 75th Anniversary Committee. Whether you have been with us on Sundays for a long time or are visiting for the first time today, we welcome you to our service. This congregation is diverse in beliefs, with participation open to all who agree to embrace our covenant, mission, and values, regardless of your partisanship or lack thereof. We are a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, races, ethnicities, and abilities. We unconditionally welcome you as your full, authentic self to our community of care, spiritual growth, and personal growth. Our congregational mission is to strengthen our connections to each other and our planet by enlivening minds and spirits, building community through liberating love, and advocating fiercely for justice. It is a custom in this congregation to acknowledge visitors and newcomers. If it is your first time here, will you please raise your hand so we might acknowledge you? Yay. We love having visitors. Thanks for coming and checking us out. If you follow us to coffee hour later and you pick up a green mug just inside the door for new folks, visitors, or kind of new people. We don't really define new too much. Pick up a green mug and we'll chat you up. And we can also fill out one of these gold cards located in the pew in front of you. So you can get emails from us and see what's going on in this amazing, fabulous place. So you can drop it in the collection basket, or there's a basket on the table in the narthex. Please know, whatever your religious history, whatever your spirituality, all people of goodwill are welcome here. Your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us whole. And on a personal note, I just want to say how thrilled I am to share the stage with Ellen Stevenson this morning. The way that she shows up in our community, I have great admiration for that. So I'm thrilled to have her here in my sanctuary at my place of worship. Our service will now begin.
Good morning. My name is Anna Crow. I will be serving as your worship associate today, and we will begin with our chalice lighting. Again, we reground ourselves here in our highest values. Love is the center and the foundation of this faith. Love is the power that holds us together as a community. As we enter into worship, let us open our hearts to the healing power of liberating love. Because love is not only something that we receive, but something we practice in community. Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love. Let us be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. As we continue to listen and learn to act and to grow, may we each unfold in wholeness, both deeply loving and truly loved. A couple of notes this morning before we read the call to worship. For starters, our minister, Reverend Chris, is out of the pulpit today, but we are thoroughly delighted to have with us, as Lynn mentioned, Ellen Stevenson from the Community Remembrance Project. The mission of the CRP is to honor the lives and memories of victims of racial terror and preserve the social memory of our local community by engaging in a more honest conversation about the history of racial injustice in Greenville County through restorative truth-telling and healing. So we very much appreciate you being with us today, Ellen. Thank you. And in that spirit, most of the readings that I will be doing this evening are coming from Mamie Till Mobley, the mother of Emmett Till. If you are in the sound of my voice and that name does not ring a bell with you, after the service, I implore you to engage the internet and each other and learn about it and talk about it, although I have great faith that many of you are aware. In that spirit, I will now read our call to worship. With each day, I give thanks for the blessings of life, the blessings of another day and a chance to do something with it, something good, something significant, something helpful. No matter how small it might seem, I want to keep making a difference. And please rise in body and in spirit for our first hymn, hymn number 1051, We Are.
Good morning. I'm David Funderburk. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at Goof. And any kindergarten through 5th grade kids who want to come down to their religious education classes downstairs, or the K through 3rd grade folks will be at the end of the hall in the last room to the right. They can come with me after the story. And if you are in middle or high school, there's a class already going on downstairs for you. So if you want to go join your class downstairs and you're in middle school and high school, you can head down there now. So I want to welcome any children or youth or anyone of any age who would like to hear our story up close to come sit at the base of the steps or in the front pews. Welcome. Our story today, the main character of our story today, is not a person. The main character is a spirit. Our story is called I Am the Spirit of Justice by Jamar Tisby and Malcolm Newsom, with illustrations by Nadia Fisher. So the spirit of justice, this character is a spirit that fills up people who are dealing with injustice. So this book is about many times through history that it's happened that one group of people did not have the same rights, were not given the same rights as another group of people. And when that's happened, there were people who were filled with the spirit of justice to fight back against that injustice and make things right. And you may notice, if you know a little bit about the history of our country, you may notice some of the events mentioned in this book. I was there on the shores of West Africa with a royal and majestic people, living, shining, thriving. I was there on the slave ships. I rose within their minds, larger than the waves that carried them, resisting torment. I am the spirit of justice. I was there when the cry for freedom from Great Britain rang throughout the land. I burned within them like a blazing fire, battling with the words of America's own declaration that we all are created equal, with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the buying and selling of innocent people continued. So I erupted like a volcano, igniting faith in the souls of those who risked everything to deliver freedom for all. I am the spirit of justice. I was there in their hearts when they waged war against greed. So I rumbled like an earthquake, fighting for freedom, securing civil victory, abolishing slavery. Still, hate found another way to attack and stir up fear. It built invisible walls called segregation. It brought cruel harm to their bodies and tried to silence them, but I was still there. I am the spirit of justice. I roared within them like the fiercest winds, filling them with letters to write and words to speak, urging them to use their voices, creating endless streams of power. And And when their perseverance brought segregation to an end, I became granite within them, resisting, demonstrating, marching. Together, forward. You see the signs they're holding in their march. We matter. Say her name. Justice takes sides. Black lives matter. I was there when friends and allies joined in the struggle. I became a bridge, and united, we continued challenging, persisting, risking. Together we rise. I am here, even in the midst of horrifying brutality, reminding the world that my loved ones still matter. This is a mural of people who have been unjustly lost their lives because of racial injustice. I am the spirit of justice. And from now until forever, know that I will also be with you. Now, in the back of this book, there are some author notes about every page, because each one of the pictures in this book tells a deeper story. And I'm going to leave this book on a table at coffee hour, so if you want to look through and learn a little bit more, it'll be there for you. Just please leave it on the table. So thank you for listening, and if you can let me get in front of you, we can lead you to your classes.
Our offering words this morning come from Unitarian Universalist minister Joe Von Rue. In our world, many voices are silenced. Many truths remain unspoken because the speaker fears rejection, judgment, or worse. Our financial offerings today help sustain this congregation as a place where all voices are heard, where truth can be spoken without fear, where vulnerability is met with compassion. We give in gratitude for this beloved community and with hope for a world where more voices can speak their truth. Thank you. It is our custom in this fellowship to share the joys and the sorrows that shape our lives, honoring each one with the lighting of a candle. We all have moments of celebration and struggle. By sharing these experiences with one another, we can support and uplift each other on our journeys. We begin this morning with a joy from Keith Mundis. I would like to offer a huge thank you to everyone who came together to plan and make a celebration of Vicky's life happen, including Reverend Chris, Mary Margaret, the Pastoral Care Committee, Dionisio, Richard Fuller, Candy Kern, my son Lee, the Nurses Honor Guard of South Carolina, all the volunteers who helped out, Vicky's BFF Ann Seymour, everybody who had Vicky stories to share, and Edna the chicken. From Tracy Korn. Light the candle, lady. We normally a two-person job up here. It's a tag team. From Tracy Korn, a candle of sorrow for the over 100 lives lost in Western North Carolina 1 year ago, and thoughts of healing for my Western North Carolina community as we continue to work towards recovery. Thank you, Garnet. We will now light a final candle representing all the joys and sorrows present in our hearts that remain unspoken. We will now observe a brief moment of silence before the meditation words begin. For our meditation words, we return to Mamie Hill Mobley. I was worried I was going to do that. Mamie Hill Mobley. From the Death of Innocence, the story of a hate crime that changed America. It's not that I dwell on the past, but the past shapes the way we are in the present and the way we will become and what we are destined to become. It is only because I have finally understood the past, accepted it, embraced it, that I can fully live in the moment. And hardly a moment goes by when I don't think about Emmett and the lessons a son can teach a mother.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak to your congregation today. And thank you to this congregation also for your ongoing support of the Community Remembrance Project. Your financial commitment is very much appreciated, and the participation of many of your members in our work has helped to strengthen our efforts and sustain us. This morning, I'd like to share some information about our work in Greenville County, past, present, and future. The Community Remembrance Project was formed in the spring of 2019 as a capstone project of Furman's Riley Institute's Diversity Leaders Initiative. Dr. Felicia Smith and myself were part of that group at Furman that decided that this was a project we thought we should get started. Little did we know we'd have 6 more years and many, many more years after that to continue this great work. We met then and now work in collaboration with the Equal Justice Initiative to bring the discussion of race and racial injustice in America into the forefront of our society. The Equal Justice Initiative is based in Montgomery, Alabama, and was founded by Ellen Stevenson in 1989. At that time, they were providing legal representation to prisoners who may have been wrongly convicted of crimes and to defend anyone in Alabama in a death penalty case. Many of you may have read the book or seen the movie Just Mercy, which talks about Ellen Stevenson's work back then. They continue that work now, but they have expanded their work significantly in recent years. In 2015, they launched the Community Remembrance Project to help communities across the country remember and address the legacy of slavery, lynching, and racial segregation that still impacts communities today. We started our Community Remembrance Project in Greenville in 2019. I'll tell you a little bit more about EJI's work later. I love this quote from Ida B. Wells because I think it says a lot about what our mission is. The ways to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. So our mission, as we heard a little bit ago, is to engage the Greenville community, the Greenville County community, in a more honest conversation about the history of racial injustice in Greenville County. The Equal Justice Initiative helped us get started and identified 4 victims of racial terror lynching in Greenville County between the Civil War, 1877, and 1950, based on extensive research that they conducted over a number of years. And they identified over 4,000 victims across the country. So when we agreed to work with the Equal Justice Initiative, we wanted to honor those 4 victims that they identified here in Greenville County. I'll share some of their stories in a little bit and how we honor them, but let me start first with a definition of lynching. When you hear that term lynching, what comes to mind? For many of us, we think about a public hanging, but the definition is actually broader than that. Lynching is the administration of justice committed by a mob for an alleged offense. A lynching is any public killing of an individual who has not received due process. These executions were often carried out by lawless mobs, though police officers did participate under the pretense of justice. In many cases, it involved extreme violence carried out in a very public setting. Many victims were taken from jail cells by a mob to be killed without trial. Lynching was used as a tool of oppression, primarily targeting Black Americans to enforce white supremacy and to instill fear. Even when there was a functioning justice system, lynchings were common. In the South, 89% of the victims were African Americans, most of them men. In the West, Mexicans and Native Americans and Chinese were commonly victims of lynching. A typical lynching starts with a criminal accusation, some crime committed by a Black person against a white person. Then there's usually an arrest, although in many cases there was never an arrest. In the cases in Greenville, our victims, a couple of them, had never been an arrest. This is followed by a group of people who decide to take justice into their own hands. They seize the accused from jail or from their home or wherever they find them, and then the accused is subjected to physical and mental torment and murdered, often brutally. One of Greenville County's victims was Ira Johnson. Ira Johnson was accused of killing a white man after getting into an altercation with that man that escalated into an exchange of gunfire. Ira Johnson acted in self-defense, but he was arrested and taken to jail. Black residents in the community took up arms and guarded him at the jailhouse for several days because they feared a lynching. But eventually law enforcement made them leave their sentry duty at the jailhouse. And that very night at around 2 a.m., that was July 15th, 1895, a mob of at least 100 white men broke into the jail, seized Mr. Johnson, and carried him along Buncombe Road to the Sans Souci community. Finding an oak tree, the mob stripped, bound, and hanged Mr. Johnson before shooting his body with at least 500 bullets. A black child later found his body after it had been abandoned. Telling these stories of lynching is important for many reasons, and they're listed on this slide. Acknowledging the injustices faced by our ancestors, recognizing the lasting impacts, helping us confront systemic racism today, and advocating for policies that will promote equality and healing in our communities. I recently read a piece by Michael Gerson, a journalist and speechwriter for President Bush and the Wall Street Journal, so a guy on the kind of conservative side of things. He said, and I quote, "The evil of white supremacy resulting in dehumanization, inhumanity, and murder is the worst stain, the greatest crime of U.S. history. It is the thing that nearly broke the nation. It is the thing that proved generations of Christians to be vicious hypocrites. It is the thing that turned normal people into moral monsters capable of horrific crimes." End quote. The Community Remembrance Project is committed to changing the narrative about race in America. In today's political climate, the narrative about race in America, about telling the truth, the good and the bad, is being challenged. Our work seems even more urgent now than when we started 6 years ago. Lynching should not be a part of American society today, just as they shouldn't have been 100 years ago. But unfortunately, they are, as the story we heard this morning and as this picture represents some of the more recent victims of racial terror. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Rodney King, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, we can list many more. Today, it may not be a mob killing an individual, but the modern unjust murders of African Americans continues to intimidate and harm the entire community. As a greater community, we must realize that we can't heal a wound by saying it's not there. So we must name what we want to heal, no matter how shameful or painful. There must be a reckoning with the truth of racial violence that has shaped our communities in order for healing to commence. So as a Community Remembrance Project, how do we remember these 4 victims, and how do we help bring that to relevance in what's going on today? Since 2019, when we began the Community Remembrance Project, we have held 25 events, including some virtual events during the pandemic. All of the events invite the public to hear the stories of our victims or to relate the history of racial terror to present-day injustices and challenges in the community. And we honor each of our victims with different things: soil collections and ceremonies, educational programs, and historical markers. This, I think we skipped a slide. There we go. No, back two. One more. Okay, soil collection and ceremonies. So one of the things that we have done, we had a group that took the research that EJI started about each of our victims and further researched exactly and trying to identify pretty precisely the location of the lynching that happened, some of them over 100 years ago. And we went to those places and dug soil from that place. And we then took the soil and dried it and cleaned it so that it could be preserved, a way to bring that event of history to the present day. So that's pictures of us digging soil and getting it ready to be prepared. In the next slide, you see a picture of one of our soil collection ceremonies. We then conducted a ceremony, and we did this for each of the 4 victims. It was like a homegoing or a funeral service to honor that victim, and then we invited each of the participants, all the people that came to the service, to participate with us to fill the jars and with the soil to preserve and memory of them. One of the jars, we had 2 jars for each victim. One jar was sent to Montgomery, Alabama to be part of the Equal Justice Initiative's Legacy Museum. And one is kept here in Greenville County, where we have built what's the word I'm looking for? A display, thank you, of those 4 jars so that people can continue to visit and hear the stories of those 4 victims. It's currently at the Upcountry History Museum. But you see this jar here is of Robert Williams. Let me tell you his story. At noon on November 4th, 1881, a mob of more than 100 white people brutally lynched a young black man named Robert Williams near Williamston, South Carolina. Robert Williams was a 21-year-old man living and working on a farm. He was a husband and father of 2 children. He was accused by a white girl who worked with him in the fields of having assaulted her. And Robert Williams was taken to jail for that. He was later kidnapped from the jail by a lynch mob and hanged near the Saluda River with no impartial investigation or trial. And here's a picture of our soil collection exhibit at the Upcountry History Museum. If you haven't already been there to see it, please make a trip over there, and maybe sooner than later. It may not be there forever. And so that is one way that we honor the victims in Greenville County. Another important way is with historical markers. And whenever we've displayed a new historical marker, we've had a ceremony and a meeting to talk about that victim and, again, honor their lives. We've erected 2 historical markers so far that tell the story of 2 of our victims. On one side of the historical marker is the story of that specific individual's lynching and what happened. And on the other side of the marker is the history of lynching in America, on a broader picture of what that is about. One of our markers is in Taylor's. It's in front of the summary court next to the library, and it honors George Green, who was killed in November 16th, 1933. The second marker that we have installed is near the corner of Rowford Road on Highway 25, and it honors Tom Keith, who died August 16, 1899. Tom Keith's story is also one of where there was not even an arrest for the crime. He was an old and trusted farmhand of a white farmer, had worked for that farmer for many years. And again, this was in August, after a long, very hot work day in the fields. He had had a couple of drinks and fell asleep in the same room as two small children of the farmer. When the farmer and his white employer discovered him in that room, he hit him and told him to leave town and never come back. And Tom Keith did. He started running. But when news of what happened traveled to the neighbors, the white community became enraged, and a mob of white men quickly organized to find and lynch Mr. Keith. Later that night, in 1899, the white mob tied Tom Keith to a tree and lynched him by riddling his body with bullets. We are working to erect a third marker to honor Ira Johnson and Robert Williams. And that will be one marker combined. They were both taken from jails, and we are hoping to put that marker in downtown Greenville somewhere. The National Memorial for Peace and Justice is an incredible three-part museum that the Equal Justice Initiative has opened in Montgomery, Alabama. And if you have not already done so, I would hope you would all consider a trip to Montgomery. It is well worth it. These three incredible museums, the Legacy Museum tells the history of injustice from enslavement, racial terror, lynchings, and segregation to current-day mass incarceration. The National Memorial for Peace and Justice is a very moving site that has a monument for each of these 4,000 plus victims of racial terror lynching that are identified, one memorial for each county across the country. And the most recent part of their museum is the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park. It's a very powerful engagement of the story of this history. And we must truthfully confront our history of racial injustice before we can repair ourselves. This quote from James Baldwin says it all for me. History is not just something to be read, and it does not refer only to the past. The great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it within us, are unconsciously controlled by it in many ways, and history is literally present in all that we do. As we approach the next few years of our work in Greenville County, the Community Remembrance Project will focus on ways to engage in consistent and substantive community building through addressing racially sensitive issues with a goal of education and empowerment. The CRP wants to not only preserve truthful historical narratives, but also wants to emphasize the resilience, strength, and leadership of the Black community despite this legacy of racial terror and continuing atrocities. The dominant theme for our future work is truth and reconciliation. That process seeks to heal relations between opposing sides by uncovering all the pertinent facts, distinguishing truth from lies, and allowing for acknowledgement and appropriate public mourning, forgiveness, and healing. There are opportunities for you all to volunteer and participate in the events of the Community Remembrance Project. So I hope to see some of you again at those events and maybe to see some new faces. We have committees that work to pull together these plans and ideas of ways to engage the community. So please go to our website and sign up for our communications, and we will look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 121, We'll Build a World. Please join me in saying the words on the screen as we extinguish the chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And for our benediction, we return to Mamie Hill Mobley. We are only given a certain amount of time to do what we are sent here to do. You don't have to be around a long time to share the wisdom of a lifetime. You just have to use your time wisely, efficiently, and there is no time to waste.